Here we go at the end of March, chapter 65 of Caesar's Civil War, book 1. Quos, these people, ubi, when, Afrianus, the nominative, procol, from far away, visos, he visos, the quos. So when Afrianus saw those people from far away, cum Petrio conspected it, when Petrius caught sight of them also, he was Pateritus. So this is Afrianus is very terrified by the nova ray, by this new matter, or strange matter, it's probably new, and he considered it. So he halted on the ablative, the locus superioribus, on the higher grounds, and he drew up his acium, his line, his battle line. Caesar reficated his exercitum. He refreshed his army in the campus, on the plains, nay, lest defessum, the exercitum, lest his tired army, he would obicat, he would cast them into prolio, into battle, he would send them into battle. Rursus, again, conantes, present participle plural, the enemy were trying to progredi, to make progress go forwards, but in sequitur, but he followed them and morator, caused the delay. Illi, they, the enemy, maturius necessario, more earlier, or with more maturity, so earlier than they should have, than by necessary, quam, than what they had constitueranted. So the enemy then, more maturia, more earlier than necessary than what they had decided, they ponunted their castra, they pitched their camp. Subirant annum, for the montes, the mountains, were subiranting. The mountains are approaching them. That's pretty cunning of the mountains. And atqui, a millibus passum 5, so and from 5 miles, there was a difficula itinerate. There was a difficult pathway or journey to be made, and angusta, and it was narrow. So these mountains, which were far away, were going to receive them, excipiebant. Or more in English, you'd say they were approaching the mountains than the mountains were approaching them. Hos montes, these mountains, in the accusative, cupiebant, they were desiring, taking the infinitive, to enter, or retreat beyond, as the other translations say, so that they could effugorant, they could flee the equitatum, the cavalry, Caesaris, of Caesar, and with praesidias, with garrisons, in the Angustus, collocated there, means placed there, so they would place garrisons in the Angustus, in the Narrows, to prohiberant. They would prohibit the army of Caesar in its itinerary, in its journey. Ipsi themselves, sine periculae and timor, without danger and fear, they would traducerant, they would lead their copiers, their forces, across the Ebro, the Iberum. Quod, could be because, I don't see any neuter, because fuit, this was illis conanum, so this must be tried by them, that would be, the illis would be the them, and it must be efficientum, this must be done omni ration, on all accounts. This had to be tried and done. Said Totius die, but the total day, the whole day, had been in pugna, in a fight, and labore, by the labour, or in the labour of the itinerus, of the travelling, they were defessi, which is plural for being, they were all tired. The ram, the matter, into posterum die, into the next day, they distoleranted, they postponed. Caesar quoque, so Caesar also, in the Proximo Colli, in the nearby hill, ponented his castra, placed his camp, 66. Circuita, around media nocte, in the middle of the night, around that time, eos, these people, who, causa aquandi, for the sake of getting water, causes the post-positive to the genitive, they went longius, rather far away, a castris from camp, processorant, they proceeded rather far away from camp, and looks like they were corruptus, they were seized, ab equitibus, by the cavalry, and by these, ab his, Caesar Curtius. He was more certain, he was informed that the dukes, the leaders, adversarium, genitive of these adversaries, were educerating, leading out their copious, their forces in silence, silentio, from their camp, their castras. Quo cognito, ablative absolute, with this thing known, he ubited. He ordered, Mr. Caesar ordered the signum dare to be given. Ordered the signal to be given, and conclamare, to be shouted out in the moray of the military, in the custom of the military. Pack up your vases, pack up your utensils, pack up, we're leaving. Ili, we see Caesar constantly referred to the enemy with this. So they, the enemy, verati, were fearful. Ex audito clamor, having heard the clamor, or the din, verba fearing, ut near inverted. So they were fearing that, noctu, in the night, sub onere, under the burden, impetitai, they're impeded, there's their luggage, under the burden of their luggage, that they would be coggerentored, they would be forced, taking the infinitive, to confligere, to have the fight with Caesar's men, or, his nay again still from the verb of fear, or that, by the equitatu, by the cavalry Caesaris of Caesar, they would be tenerentored in angustias, they would be held in the narrows. They supprimanted their ita, they stopped their journey, and continent, they contained their copias, which is their forces. They stayed in castras, they stayed in the camp. Postero die, so on the next day, Petrius, with Porcus Equitibus, with a few horsemen, occulte, there's an adverb, means secretly, he profiscator, he set out to exploranda the loca, that's the gerundive, to explore the place. Hoc, this, idem, same, it's a pronoun, fit, happened, from the castras Caesaris. So the same thing happened in the camp of Caesar. Mitator was sent out, L. Deciduous, this is spelt wrong, Saxa. Decidius Saxa was sent out with a Porcus, with a few men, who were to perspiciat, were to look over or inspect the naturam loci, the nature of the ground. This loci up here was plural. This loci comes from locum. Utique, so both sides, both of them, idem suis renuntiat. So they announced idem the same, renuntiat's taking the dative to their own men, the suis. So each of them announced to their own men the same thing, that v millia passum, 5 miles proxima, the closest 5 miles, intercedere, interceding 5 miles, was itinerus campestris. Campestris is the flat land, so the 5 miles journey was all flat ground. Inde, so then, excipere, loca aspera and montuoso. These are adjectives. Montuoso means it's mounty, aspera means it's the harsh places. Excipere can mean several things. It means here continued on, or the following thing would happen. So then, after these 5 miles of the flatlands, the campestris, followed on with a harsh and mountainous area. Qui, so who prior would occupavor it, who would occupy these narrows, that has anguistus, from these, nihil esse negati, it would be no trouble, negati means business or trouble, to prohibere the hostem. So whoever arrived prior at these narrows, they would be able to prohibit and stop the attack with not much trouble. Okay, so 67, we'll have a daily dictionary first. Excipio, from excapio, take out, accept, rescue, receive. Here's what we're talking about today. I follow after, succeed a thing in line, in time, or order of its possession, and otherwise accommodate, suffer, endure, etc., even figuratively understand. But we're talking about these mountains followed in succession after a thing. Back to the plot. 67. It was disputerabator in the council, in some get-together, by Petrio and Afrianus. It was inquired into, quaeretur, was inquired by these men, also at the tempus profectionis, the time that they had set out. Remember, they were going from the information from these people they captured. Pleriqui means most of them. Consensabat, they were thinking this thing, that ut a noctu ita, they should have a night journey, facurent. They should make their ita by night. They should make their travelling by night. Posse was able to venire to arrive prius, so first to these narrows at Angoste. Then it would be sentiratud, which is would be sensed by the other side. Ally, so others. This is in contrast to the pleriqui. The first, a lot of these people thought this, but it's a correlative. Others, quod pride noctu, on the prior night, the conclamatum esset, which there's big shouting which had been, quod, in Castris Caesar, in Caesar's camp, was an argumentum or proof or documentation, sumabent, which they took up, that they were non posse, not able to exere, to go out from this loco, this place, clam, adverb for silently. Circumfunde noctu, so by night, the equitatum, the cavalry, Caesaris of Caesar, circumfunde, they flow out around us, and omne loca, and all the places at qui itinerant, and all these roads or pathways are obsiderate, blocked. Nocturna qui prolia esse vitanda. So a nighttime battle must be vitanded, avoided. There's the must be done gerundive. Quod, because a perterritus miles, because a very terrified soldier, in civili dissension, in civil dissensions or wars, magus quem means more go towards fear than religioni, or even their duty. Consuerit, they're accustomed, taking to consolare for themselves. So the plan, a terrified soldier in the Civil War is accustomed to take his plans more to fear than for his duty or religion. At lucem, but light, per se, for each soldier, multem pudorem, there's much shame in the light because of omnium oculus, with all the eyes, which can see them. And multem, very much, etiam even, tribunorum militum and centuriorum, these are genitives, then the presence, presentiam, of these tribunes of the soldiers and of the centurions will afferre, will bring. So, they're terrified during the night, but during the day, they have that great sense of shame for themselves because of all eyes watching them and the presence of their tribunes and centurions. Lead on. Quibus rebus, by these things, all these shame and people watching them, milites coerci can be checked, kept in place, and in their officio, in their duty, soliant, are accustomed to be contained, contineri. Quare, so therefore, omni rational esse interdio, so by all reasonings or accounts, it should have been done interdio, which means during the daytime, per appendum, they must burst out, break out, by all accounts, while there's still day. Etsi, and if, sometimes it means although, and it usually has something like attainment, so there it is. And although aliquo accepto detriment, having accepted some detriment, some losses, nevertheless, summa place with the exercitus salvo, with the army safe, the locum, quem pedet, which we seek, so the place which we seek, we can take all these commas out, I think, because it's just ruining the plot. Was there any other ones? Oh, there's one. So, and although there will be some damage, then nevertheless we'll be able to take the place which we seek with the army safe, if that makes sense. Okay, hey, these things, vincated, they won, they prevailed in the concilio, in the council. Haec sententia, these sentiments or opinions or viewpoints prevailed in the council, and prima luce, at first light, postridi, the next day, constituant, they decided profisci, to set out. And that's it for the day.